So next, we want to look at data security. Data security. We'll be looking at data security. And under this, we want to see and understand how important is it to manage data security, understand the various security technologies, the various controls for encryption, overview of disk encryption, file encryption. Hope you know what is encryption. When you hear encrypt data, it shouldn't be new by now. Maybe to right click and zip up a file to encrypt so that when you send, only the other person accredited can receive. You did is it forensics? I don't know, where you say public and private key. Did you do that last semester? So that should be a workaround. Understanding data loss prevention and solutions. So what is business critical data? Data, like we have already said, is the art of any organization. Critical data contains information that is important for business operation. Example, accounting files, databases, operating systems, important office documents, software, and contact information. Please, let's be quiet, please. And data must be very, very secure, because any loss or theft cause serious harm. Serious harm. It causes damage to the brand, damage to reputation. Sorry. So it causes brand damage, competitive advantage loss, loss of customers, loss of market share. Shareholders in a business are very, very critical, and you also pay fines and penalty. We have several ways when we talk about state of data. Please, this is very important for yourself and for exam purpose. Data security have three critical states. When we are talking about data, it's three. Data security, three states. Number one, data at rest. When we say data at rest, data residing maybe in your phone, in a flash drive, in a system, the data is at rest. Security for data at rest exists. It's a different principle when data is in use. When data is in use, now I have opened my laptop. That means data is in use. What security principle should I apply to my laptop and this data I'm currently seeing? It's different from data at rest, meaning my laptop is shut down. That means that provision may be physical security, password, and all of that. When my data is in use now, I'm using my PowerPoint to teach. What security should I apply? Like that guy that is snapping my slide now. Assuming the slide is not meant, the data is in use. If I don't want the slide to be snapped, what can I do? Should I maybe put maybe anti-glare, or I don't know. There can be something I can do to make sure once he points his camera, it will appear blurred, something of that nature. Then you see some websites. You go to some websites, you can copy and paste, right? Some websites, have you encountered website where you highlight to copy, you can't copy whatever is there? You have seen it. Data, yes, some bank apps, data is in use, but they have put some mechanism to ensure that you cannot copy. Instead, you can snap. Data in transit. When transferring data, how can you secure those data? What kind of firewall can you bring? Remember last semester we talked of hacking. Data in transit, you are typing www.google.com. Instead of seeing Google appearing on your screen, you are seeing this site has been hacked. Remember last semester, this site has been hacked on your screen. Data in transit was not protected properly. So those three critical states of data actually, I've explained this already, actually have various means you have to protect that data. In data security, like we already did last semester, there are various terminologies which you must be familiar with. Please study this slide when I sent it. Authentication, we have talked about it. Encryption, data masking. protecting of data through whatever means? Do you want to use masking tape to maybe close a label? Do you want to use code, forensics? Do you want to use code? What is the other course? Is it in CDB or something? CBD. Do you want to use code to mask data? In my secondary school those days, a colleague of mine in SS2, he produced his own language, whereby he can be taking notes and writing information, only him can decode it. All of us started learning. We will just start using signs, and you forget the signs you use. So data resilience and backup, that means making a duplicate copy of critical data. Data destroying. How well can you destroy a data so that it cannot be recovered and used for wrong motive? Data retention. How well can you store data with for compliance or business requirements? We already know about data encryption techniques. We have disk encryption, encrypting a storage disk. File level encryption, encrypting just a particular file. You know, disk is different from file. Hope you know that. Encrypting a disk is different from encrypting just a file you want to be secure. Removable drive encryption, encrypting USB flash drive, hard disks, and all of that, smartphone and tablets. We can decide to try this in class. Maybe, how do we encrypt data? You could try it on your own. We just put it as illustration. If you go to start, settings, let me see my own. Okay. Oh, my screen is not being shared. Just a minute. Okay, see my system now. I went to my settings. I went to my settings here, and I type encryption, data encryption on my system. And when I typed it, I came here, manage device encryption, and I'm seeing that my encryption is already on. It means my disk is already encrypted. We have several things we use to encrypt. We have BitLocker and all of that. So if we remove my hard drive from my system, you can't open it on another system without putting my own encryption key, because I enabled encryption on my own system. I enabled encryption on my own system. So that is an example. You can enable this on your own. Once you study this slide, you can follow up and enable encryption on your own system. So there are various softwares you can use to encrypt data. You learned it last semester. BitLocker is there, FinalCrypt, FileVault. Once you download any of those software, you can select any drive from your system and follow the process and encrypt your data. So encryption can, but you have to be very careful so that when you encrypt, you can always decrypt your data. On our own systems already have possible ways to encrypt and store data. For instance, let me show you another one. I have opened this now. Maybe I want to encrypt this, or this folder. I want to encrypt this folder. Mm. That icon, has it disappeared? There's an option we usually see those days on Windows here that will ask us to encrypt the particular system. Okay, I'm not seeing it on this version of Windows. It's just usually here where you can click and just say encrypt. Okay, maybe you could find it out much later. Okay, so on your system, the system has a built-in encryption system on every Windows particular system. So there's an encryption tool you can also download, and advanced encryption. Those days when I try to encrypt my systems, I can just encrypt and put in a password. It means that once you give, in fact, you can give a flash data in transit. You can encrypt a flash drive, give it to someone, and give the person at the receiving end the password. But you must tell him, always download this particular software. But only by downloading this software, you can read the contents of my flash drive. That is with removable drive and all of them. So there are several tools. These slides just have several tools that has to do with data encryption. Now, data storage, data at rest. Data backup is just a process of making a duplicate copy of critical data, probably to restore a system to its normal working state after damage, or to recover data and information. And this is, let me tell you this, in IT, you always say it, any area of IT you decide to go into is very, very lucrative. So far, you learn it very, very well. So let me pause my recording. Concept in cyber security. So in data backup strategy, in fact, developing a plan for organizations on just data backup is very important. People are usually employed just to develop policies on data backup. The organization will tell you, we are a bank. We must not lose customers' information. Give us a resilient plan on data backup and recovery. That is just your job. There's a firm some years back. What was the job I did for them? Data backup. We simply developed a policy. In fact, it was simple. We told them, first of all of you must use Google email. That was the first step. After using Google email, we now installed Google Drive on each of their system. Google Drive is a free software for those that use Google email. That Google Drive, we opened an email and created it backup.laserengineering.whatever@gmail.com. So we just sign into that email on each of their system. And on the setting of that mail, we simply say by 4 p.m., always back up this data to the cloud. Then on the cloud now, we gave the password to that email to the management. So what is their own job? Any file of any staff they want, they can simply visit that Google Drive and see all information. So if a staff system gets missing or get lost for now, everything can be found directly on the drive. If my system gets stolen today, I fear I have no cause for alarm, because this is what I did. Let me open my Google Drive, my uploader for you. This is my drive uploader. If you notice that it's meant to sync all files on my systems automatically. So on my phone right now, once I go to my Google Drive on my phone, I'm seeing everything on my system. See my system here. On every file on my system, you notice that there is a green tick. Are you seeing this green tick? That green tick means that it has successfully seen internet and backed up my file. The ones on blue means that I have created new copies of a file. I have worked on that folder, but it has not yet gone on synced online. And because of that, it is showing me that I have some files that are awaiting to be synced. One of those files is one of the recordings that we just did in class now. And this alone can fetch you serious money. It is a simple process. but just the idea to give a detailed outline and give a policy process to organizations that at so and so time, this person's system is to be backed up. You can see that is a solution on its own entirely, data backup and recovery. That is a very important solution in organizations. So data backup, you must have a plan. You must select a technology based on the organization you are dealing with. You must select the backup type, the right solution. Then very importantly, you must conduct a recovery drill test. Who can assist us with explaining what do I mean by recovery drill test? Recovery drill test.
For example, each of the staff, they got a place for them to tell them how the data is lost, how they can quickly recover it.
How fast can you recover data when a device maybe is crashed, you buy a new device? How fast can that data be recovered to a system? Very important. It's not just all about backing up. You must have a plan. Now you have backed up the entire company system to a single Google Drive account. How best and how fast do you think you can recover it? Do you need to build a special software that even if you are doing Google Drive, everybody has a name that you sign in and see your own file, so that when there's an issue, you simply visit that platform and recover it? That is very, very important. Selecting the backup media is important, and you have 5 things to rely on: availability of the data, reliability, the cost, the speed. SSD is faster than HDD. That means if you are selecting a backup media, you must always go for SDD drive as against SSD drive. I've just explained that we have CD, we have portable hard disks, and we have tape drives. So that advises you on the technology you use. There's what we call RAID. RAID, R-A-I-D, you may have heard it before, you are hearing it for the first time. It simply means redundant array of independent disks. What are we saying? Organizations like bank, they want to be extremely sure that if a fire comes up in this classroom, and that is their data storage at the back there, if a fire comes out, you must be able to recover every detail of their file. None is missing. Imagine a bank, a single partition cannot be recovered. What does it mean? Someone may not know his account balance. You see, banks were doing, at the beginning of last year, they were doing this migration. You remember that? When banks were doing migration, you cannot log into your app, you can log in, they say bank is migrating. They actually use what is called RAID technology. RAID technology simply means that several files are combined together such that when data is being written, duplicate of a hard disk writes itself into several duplicates, because stories cannot be heard in a banking industry. So that if one fails, the other one keeps operating continually. That is why if you go to data centers, you can see this laptop into 5 places. You'll be wondering why. They're performing the same function. If this one fail, this one pick up. In fact, they run different power sources to the different hard disks. Different power, different internet. They don't want to hear that power from this generator affected this one. So they are all operating independently, but the same function of replicating and duplicating themselves. That is actually what happens. So RAID has several levels, and all those levels depend on stripping, parity, and the ability to mirror themselves very, very well. What are the advantages? RAID, that is redundant array of independent disks, offers hot swapping. Hot swapping means that while the server is still on, when something is on, you call it hot. While a car engine is running, if the car engine fails, can it swap to another engine immediately? That is hot swapping. Meaning that while this system is on, I should be able to go and remove one hard disk and replace another one, and nothing fails. That is hot swapping. That is system components replacement without affecting network functionality. RAID supports disk stripping, resulting in improved write and read performance. RAID is not compact. Disadvantage is not compatible with some hardware and software programming. And if RAID data is lost, if important drives fails one after another, and RAID cannot protect the data from for all types of applications. This is the storage architecture. You could study it much later. Much later you could study it. Okay, so we have several levels to using RAID. Number one, RAID stripping. RAID stripping actually splits data into different blocks. Even though they are written into multiple hard drives, it tries to split the data. And why does it do that? It splits the data to improve the performance of the hard disk, but there is a downside. The downside is that when you are using disk stripping, meaning that you are trying to balance up the process, probably customer's bank account is saved on hard disk 1. Those checking bank balance is another one. Those checking transaction history, another one. Those looking for bank statement, another one, so that maybe the system could be very fast. When you do that, if one disk crashes, you can't recover because you spread the functions. That's the disadvantage. It improves speed and performance, but recovery is not really possible, and it does not work for data redundancy. Stripping improves performance and speed, but recovery is not possible if a drive fails. Please note that. It is a very good question that always do come out. Stripping, you have told us disk stripping. Stripping improves performance but affects disk recovery. Disk mirroring. Mirroring means that multiple copies of data are written into multiple drives at the same time. It provides data redundancy because data is being duplicated. If one drive fails, data can be recovered from another one. So we have several other levels of disk operating. You could check all other slides on that. Now, I want to speak on this. Storage area network. Storage area network is sometimes spoken along with network attached storage. Storage area network is simply a dedicated high-speed network that is used to connect various storage devices with internet speed. Where we call data centers in Lagos and all of that, their storage devices could be bigger than this, not the operating system. You will see a desktop computer staying alone, or you can see a laptop on its own. The hard disk is one big machine staying somewhere. The disk is different from the operating system, and it is always preferred in large enterprise because it allows for flexible and reliable data transfer, and data can always be upscaled. Scalability. Data can always be upscaled. Advantages: consolidation of data, ease of data sharing, improved backup and storage, high performance and low latency. Network attached storage. In network attached storage, it is a server and file based, and is a dedicated computer system for majorly storage shared over the network. Advantages: users with different operating systems can share files without compatibility. But the disadvantage is this: applications that use most of the data would reduce overall network performance. It reduces overall network performance. Selecting an appropriate backup method is also based on cost and also based on organizations' requirements. It's based on organizations' requirements. Some organizations say that they want hot backup. Hot backup means as our processes are ongoing, please back up the system. That would advise you on the type of backup systems to use. Some people will tell you they want cold backup. It means that while people have gone to work, those days of banking, year 2000s and co, that is the kind of backup they do. The office will shut down by 4 p.m. No transaction will go on. They will now do a backup of the banking system. When they come the next morning, it continues. But now they basically do hot backup. Warm backup means combination of both hot and cold backup. Combination of both hot and cold backup. How do you choose backup locations? I watch American movies, dictating movies a lot. You notice that terrorists sometimes they'll tell you the data of maybe NSA or CIA is actually stored. You hear the word offsite. Offsite. When you hear the word offsite in most of those movies, they are saying that the data center is here, but the data storage, it is stored in a remote location that cannot be accessed, so that if this place is attacked and they destroy everything in this building, someone will quickly go to the offsite location and safeguard the data. They separate the network operating environments from the data storage because the essence of most of the attacks is always to get access to data. In the IT world of today, data is king. Data is king. On-site means data is stored here. Off-site means data is stored remotely. Cloud data means data is stored on cloud. Hope I've taught us what cloud is. My laptop can be a cloud, so far it is always connected online. That is cloud. All of them have disadvantages and disadvantages. We have several types of backup: full backup, differential backup, and incremental backup. Full backup means all the system data is copied. Differential data means simply replace data that have been changed. The one I'm doing with my Google Drive on my system is in differential data. What does Google Drive does? It simply checks, have any new file been added to this folder? If it has been added, simply add it up. Have this file been changed? Maybe on a MS Word document, you added some lines. Google Drive will detect it and simply update. It won't do a mirror. If it does mirror, it means your storage on your drive would be exhausted very fast. Incremental backup, only files that have been changed or created, while differential means only, please note the two. Differential, if I ask what's the difference between differential and incremental, differential means only data that have been changed since the last backup. Incremental means data that have been changed or created. Change or created. Differential, only data that have been changed. Those are two different things entirely. Data retention, the process of storing and maintaining important data. Data retention must have a policy, and policy is a set of rules that we use to preserve data. You know, you can't just, in organizations, you can't just carry any flash drive and say you are doing backup storage. No. There must be a policy. What is the policy for backup? What is the policy for using a flash? That flash, maybe in my organization, I may say that before a removable disk is used for storage, you must install BitLocker on that removable disk. You must encrypt that removable disk. You can't just buy flash from Ugunabali and come and use to backup system. No, it must go through some checks. In my organization, I may tell you, any disk that is brought, we have to format it first. What if when you bought it, someone puts a virus or something? So they must have a policy. Retention. Some organizations will tell you this data should only be retained for 30 days. This data should be retained for 7 days. This data should be retained for 6 months. Maybe transactions, they'll tell you, let's say we have a class now, and I'll tell you that due to space, I can only retain class recordings for a period of 7 days after the class have held. Meaning that after 7 days, if you don't go and download that recording, it will be deleted from the internet. That is the data retention policies. That is an example. So you must be able to build up a policy development team. You must be able to understand that data, you must understand and determine the applicable legal requirements of organization and ensure that all employees understand why data is to be retained. We have several methods of governing data. Several platforms have their own encryption policy. In AWS call it AWS KMS. Please mark that word. AWS KMS means AWS Key Management Service. That is a service used by Google to encrypt and control data stored on AWS. Sorry, not Google. AWS KMS is a key management service that allows creation and control of encryption keys. While Google Cloud has its own platform, Google Cloud Platform Encryption has its own platform. We have data retention policy best practices. Please always create a policy that fulfills all legal and business requirements. Justify the reason behind the policy. Create a policy with minimal requirements. You can add up as and when needed. Create simple policies that are easy. Don't go and create policies that cannot be implemented. When you want to back up a system, make sure your internet is on. Make sure the staff is seated. Make sure too many policies spoil organizations. Create policies that can easily be understood by the employee, such as an employee, once it is 10 minutes to 4 p.m. or once it is 4 p.m., stop all work. Once you stop all work, simply click a button on your system. That button, you install it and call it backup. Simply click backup and stay. When you see backup finish, shut down the system. It's different from telling the employees by 4 p.m., visit www.this, key in this username and password, type in this, select this. They will forget and they will not implement that. Create simple policies. Create different data retention policies for different data types. If you have videos, always save it on this folder. If you have pictures, always save it on this folder so that my software can pick out these folders at random. Maybe because of my internet speed, I may say that videos should be backed up after close of work. And text can be backed up in the afternoon. If you want to back up videos during work, what will happen? Internet speed may drag. And you only know that when you do policies. Classify data and decide if data should be archived. You know what it means by archived? Saved or deleted. Do we have any